Hello and welcome to Your Stocks in the Mumbai News Studio. I'm Ekta Batra. Well, it's turning out to be a very solid session for us at this point. So, advanced decline ratio, which is in the advancing side, 2,561 stocks with 1,555 stocks declining. And we have the Nifty, which is showing a gain of around 346 odd points. Sensex also above 80,230. So good going for the markets, Bank Nifty and mid caps really leading from the front. Well, to put it into perspective, we just about have around 5 stocks which are declining within the Nifty 50. Well, joining us today, we have Shahina Mukadam as well as Ashish Kyal to take you through all of your stock queries that you might have. Shahina as well as Ashish, welcome to the show. Well, Ashish, let's just kick off the segment with you and ask you about the strong trend that we've seen in the markets, gone from strength to strength today. What is your sense? Would you be a buyer into this strength or maybe, reserve some gunpowder for later?
Absolutely. Afternoon to you and all the viewers. If you look at market, I think there is a very important time cycle which is turning back on the upside over here. And looking at that, I think this is an opportunity to buy the index on any dip. So if you can get a dip towards 24,420, that can be the ideal level to enter into the index and maintain a stop loss of around 24,300. We can expect a target of around 24,728. That's the gain level. So overall, there is a broader participation. We can see Bank Nifty is also outperforming up by nearly 850 points. So I'm optimistic about the index and Bank Nifty. This can be the positive reversal we are looking at, and we might eventually head towards the. It might be too soon to say that, but use any dips as a buying opportunity for the first target of 24,728 levels.
Okay, all right. Use any dips as a buying opportunity. So that's the word coming in. But we do have a lot of queries lined up in the next 30 odd minutes. Ritu first calls in from or writes to us from Nagpur. She wants to know whether this is the right time to buy LIC or whether she should wait for some correction for entering that particular counter. Well, that stock is up around 2 odd % at this point in time. Let's start with the fundamental view on this one, Shahina. First, LIC, do you think that this is a good time to enter, or would you probably wait on the sidelines?
Well, you can start entering as of now, because if you look at valuation, it's about one-time embedded value. So it is not expensive. The results also we saw in the first quarter were decent. And while we've seen some softness in margins, I mean, especially if you compare it with peers, the performance, but I think overall it was healthy. So the investor can, start buying, and then, you can add on after maybe a couple of weeks and then build your portfolio accordingly.
Okay, and technically, what's your call on LIC, Ashish?
See, LIC found a very important low near the 1,000 level yesterday, and today it is found on the upside. So overall, I think it is having a very important price action.
Okay, I think there's something wrong with Ashish's internet there. We'll just try and reconnect him. Ashish, we'll come back to you about LIC, but the stock itself on a year-to-date basis has gained over 22 odd %. So that's the chart movement. And if you look at it on a one-year basis, it's given even better returns. On a one-year basis, it's up over 55 to 60 odd % for LIC. So done fabulously well. Well, we do have Shankar who writes to us from Mumbai now. He holds 400 shares of Tata Motors, which he's bought at 680. He's sitting on a profit right now of around 1.6 lakhs. And he wants to know what to do, whether he should hold or sell this particular counter. Tata Motors is what he's asking on. Well, he's sitting on a profit at this point, Shahina. So what would you recommend one does with Tata Motors? Is it a portfolio stock that you hold on to? Do you see further upside from these current levels? Or is it important to probably shave off some profits?
No, yes, I think it is a portfolio stock, and if for a large cap, even the valuations at current levels, though it has performed in terms of stock price, still look decent. If you look at it in price to book, it is 4 times. You look at it on EV by EBITDA, it is about 6 times. The first quarter numbers were very healthy, and we've seen a growth both in JLR volumes. We've seen CV growth. Average price realizations also have moved up. On the EV front, there was some softness we saw in the first quarter because FAME 2 was actually discontinued. But now with FAME 3 likely to come in soon, that EV segment also is likely to start showing decent growth going forward. Debt is coming, debt has been brought down despite investments going up. So I think all things put together for a large cap stock, one should continue to hold in the portfolio. Keep it for the longer term, despite having made good gains in the medium term.
Okay, keep it for the longer term. Well, interestingly, it is off those highs that we've seen. The high of Tata Motors was over 1100 odd rupees. It was 1180 odd, which was the 52-week high. So from there, it's corrected significantly. But Shahina, just wanted to ask you in the same breath, while we're talking about Tata Motors, M&M is in focus on account of the launch of Thar Rocks. What is your view on that particular counter? Would you be a buyer on M&M? It's a product launch, but nonetheless, how would you, link it to the stock?
A very interesting launch and a very good price point, of about 12 lakhs for for Thar, which has been one of the best sellers for M&M. I think there also the M&M looks decent. It has actually moved up a lot, so valuations are slightly higher. At the same time, I believe even tractors in this year, given the good monsoon, should look better. So if you're an investor in M&M also, I think it is worthwhile to continue to hold M&M also.
Okay, worthwhile to hold M&M at this point. So that's the view coming in. But nonetheless, now we have Arunachal Balaji, who writes to us from Chennai, who has 2,500 shares of Utkarsh Small Finance, which is bought at around 54 odd rupees. Wants to know what to do, hold or sell. Well, sitting on a loss on that particular counter, 48 odd rupees is what it's currently trading at. Shahina, on this one, Utkarsh Small Finance?
See, the stock after listing, which it had listed at a very good premium, and it was strongly oversubscribed. It was one of the very good listings that they had. At the same time, what I believe is that in terms of valuations, if you see, it is about 1.7 times price to book. Now, in terms of growth, we have seen a bit of softness given that the margins have, the NIMs have become softer because of higher costs. Because of this, the growth has come down, but the valuations are pretty high, especially if you compare it with, let us say, something like a Federal Bank, which is, of course, larger, much larger, because Utkarsh is a small cap, whereas Federal is a large cap bank. But Federal, both in terms of valuations, also in terms of growth, profitability, it's doing much better. So if you're a long-term investor and you don't want to really trade in stocks much on a regular basis, Utkarsh, if you hold it for the longer term, yeah, once the time correction is over, you could see a decent performance, given the fact that it has got a good hold in the the belts in which they are operating, like the northwest, Uttarakhand, those type of areas. So UP. So I think to that extent, if you're a long-term investor, you can. But in my view, if you're looking at, say, the medium term, it makes more sense to switch to some other bank, like maybe a Federal.
Okay, all right. In the medium term, one could probably look at other banks such as Federal. Ashish is back with us. Well, Ashish, we had a couple of questions with regards to Tata Motors, but first I'm going to ask you on Utkarsh Small Finance. Technically, how would you approach it? Currently at around 48 odd rupees. Do you think that there's further upside?
See, Utkarsh Small Finance Bank has continued to move down from the levels of 55 and trading around 48 or rupees. And since it's not only now, it has been since around May that the stock is in a downtrend, and we are not seeing any kind of a bullish pattern being formed there. So I would advise it's better to be out from Utkarsh Small Finance Bank, and from the NBFC space, maybe something like Bajaj Finance is something that looks much more better, or maybe LIC Housing Finance. These are the stocks where you can diversify into. Better to be out from an underperformer.
Okay, better to be out from an underperformer. Tata Motors, Ashish, I'm just going to get back to that one and ask you before we move on. It's come off from those highs of around 1180 odd rupees. Do you think that it'll probably track back to those levels? What's your target on Tata Motors?
See, Tata Motors has been in a secular up move. We can clearly see that the stock has strongly outperformed from in a year's perspective when it was trading around 600 and now almost nearly doubled around 1170 levels. From there, we saw some kind of a profit booking, but it has a very important price action support area near the zone of 1020. So I would advise, if there is already long positions, continue to hold on. We can again see lifetime high levels towards 1200 or possibly higher than that. The trend remains strongly positive for this stock, and it can continue to outperform.
Okay, can continue to outperform. That's on Tata Motors. Now let's get back to a couple of fresh queries that we have. We have Shashank, who writes to us from Mumbai, who has 900 shares of IDFC, which he's bought at an average price of around 72 odd rupees. So he's sitting on a profit of over 30 odd thousand there, and wants to know what to do with this particular counter. IDFC is the one that we're talking about. Ashish, go for it on this one first. The buy price is significantly lower than what the current market price is. But do you think there's further upside on this?
See, IDFC has sharply moved down from, I think, 84 levels and currently trading around 71, if I'm not wrong. And this is a very important zone where the stock is currently trading. So if from here it manages to break above that 73 resistance, which is a very immediate hurdle, then we can expect the stock to reach towards the level of 78. But expect some consolidation to happen over short term. And I would advise to be out from something like this and invest in the large cap banking space, something like an SBI or an HDFC Bank, which looks much more appealing at the current levels than IDFC First.
Okay, and Shahina, what about you on IDFC?
Yeah, I would agree. The current levels, the stock having corrected such a lot, is now sort of consolidating at these levels. First quarter numbers also were a bit disappointing because we saw provisions, going up substantially, which actually affected their profits a bit. But on the operational front, in terms of loan growth, deposit growth, they remain quite good. So I would say keep a stop loss, and you can watch. If it sustains these levels, then yes, it could bounce and then you could relook at it. But if it corrects even from here, then maybe you should switch to some other banking stock.
Okay, all right. So that's on IDFC. Just watch out for a couple of these stocks. We have Eris Life, which is at the best levels that we've seen in 1 year. We have Fortis, which is at a fresh 52-week high. We have Glenmark as well, which is trading at a yearly high, along with GlaxoSmithKline, which is at a 52-week high as well. So a lot of these stocks within the pharmaceutical space are doing well as the healthcare space. Jamie Chemicals, which came out with numbers recently too, is at a fresh 52-week high. So all of these stocks seeing good amount of traction within the pharmaceutical space. And separately, we had Trent, which came out with, which was a very good set of numbers. The stock was 10% up post numbers, is also at a fresh 52-week high. On the other hand, VIP should come up for you as well. That stock is a bit sluggish today. I think VIP should come up for you, just about higher by around 1.5%. We'll take a short break, but more queries on the other side. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Well, you're still with us on Your Stocks on CNBC-TV18. We have with us Shahina Mukadam and Ashish Kyal joining in to answer all of your stock queries. Well, we do have Sahil, who writes to us from Bangalore. He bought around 100 Ola Electric shares after 2 days of listing at around 102 odd rupees. He's a long-term investor, wants to know what to do, whether to hold or sell this particular stock. Well, Shahina, there's not much data on the technicals, so I'm going to leave Ashish out of it. But it's just been a one-way street for Ola Electric post the listing. So what are you recommending to your clients when it comes to this particular counter? And what might your target price be on this one as well, Shahina?
See, well, even I've added a bit small amount of Ola to my portfolio, given the fact that it is the only EV in autos, that pure EV that we have in autos as of now, two-wheelers, and they are moving operationally into profits also. They have got plans, very good plans in my view, for batteries, new high-end batteries, which I think should do well. They would start their production going forward in the next couple of quarters, and they have got good launches in the motorbike space. Of course, scooters, they have got a major market share. So all things put together, I think it's worth a while to hold on, since he's already bought it, hold on to the stock for maybe 2 to 3 years, and let's see how it pans out.
Okay, all right. Well, it's been a stellar listing for Ola Electric. But we do have Rahul now, who writes to us from Mumbai, holds 40 shares of HDFC Bank, which is bought at 1460. Long-term investor wants to know technical levels to track from a long-term perspective. Right up your alley. Ashish, so over to you on this.
Yes, I just talked about how HDFC Bank can be a better bet compared to the IDFC First. And we can clearly see multiple price action support zone around 1580 levels from where the stock is bouncing back on the upside. I think the stock can reverse higher towards the level of 1780, and from the longer term perspective, we can start moving towards 2000 levels also. So there is a good potential on the upside for the stock. I would recommend to hold and possibly add more at these current levels if you want to, and maintain a stop loss of around 1580 on the downside over short term, expecting a target of around 1740, and eventually the stock should be headed towards 2000.
Okay, so eventually the stock should be headed towards 2000. What about you, Shahina? You know, your view with regards to HDFC, even though, you know, the query was on the technicals, but your entire fundamental perspective.
Yeah, you know, as a long-term investor, like it is quite nice to see that the valuations of HDFC are now at pretty attractive levels. You know, it's like just around lower than 3 times price to book, which is which is a level which I would believe it makes sense for long-term investors to get in. They are going in through some small teething issues with the merger, but I think these are all temporary, and these are good times to keep adding it to your portfolio.
Okay, all right. Well, now we have another query. We have Lakshmi, who writes to us from Hyderabad, holds 4,800 shares of Vinati Organics and has been holding it since the IPO in 1992 and wants to know what to do, whether to hold for the long term or book profits. This is a fantastic query that we've got. This is actually the power of compounding and the power of holding on right in front of your screen. Well, Lakshmi is sitting on a fantastic profit. Well, at least technically, Ashish, do you think the stock has enough firepower for her to get to, say, 1 crore in terms of profits? What would your call be on this, Ashish?
See, firstly, I would like to congratulate Lakshmi, because she has been holding out right from the level 3 and riding it all the way on the upside. As you rightly pointed out, that's the power of compounding. And very few traders or investors have that gut feeling of holding on to the stock, and that to such an extent. I would recommend to continue to hold on. There is nothing wrong. The secular bull trend on the stock still looks to be in. The weekly charts are looking good, and any dip from here can be a short-term correction. But the medium to long-term view is still bullish. So I would recommend continue to hold on to the winner that has been the true multi-bagger for her. And possibly we can see the stock crossing again that 2,300 mark on the upside and headed towards 2,500 as well. So the overall tone remains bullish for the stock. And any short-term correction, it can move towards the level of 1950, but do not worry about the same.
Okay. All right, and what about you, Shahina? Vinati Organics, fantastic investment price there. The power of compounding just on your screen.
Yeah, with such levels of buying, if an investor doesn't need the money and doesn't want to book profits, that is great. You can continue holding on. There's no issue. But at the same time, if you want to book profits, I think this could be a good time to book some profits, because valuations are extremely expensive. If you look at it from its price to book, price to, I would say turnover to market cap to turnover is about 8 times, which for a chemical stock, in my view, is high. EV to EBITDA, 25 times FY26. So given the fact that as we saw in the first quarter numbers, revenue growth was good. It was about 21%, but we saw an impact on margins, which actually dragged down, and the profits were more or less flat. I believe this is the scenario that is likely to continue over the next couple of quarters. So if you are looking to book some profits, I think this time would be a good time to book part profits. Keep the rest for long term.
Okay, all right, Shahina as well as Ashish, thanks very much for joining in and taking us through all of your queries, through all of the queries that we had on your stocks this afternoon. Wishing you a good weekend. That's all the time that we have on the show, but do remember to email us your questions. We'll address them with our experts. Stay tuned. Closing bell will take you through the last hour of trade for the week.